This should terrify Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. This morning, Rodrigo Duterte, the former president of the Philippines, was arrested as he arrived at Manila Airport. The police were acting on an arrest warrant, which charges him with crimes against humanity committed during his so-called war on drugs when he was president. And the institution which issued this arrest warrant, the International Criminal Court, the same International Criminal Court which has issued arrest warrants against Netanyahu and his former defense minister for war crimes and crimes against humanity committed in Palestine. And yes, the same International Criminal Court, which has also issued arrest warrants against Russian President Vladimir Putin and his associates over the invasion of Ukraine. Duterte is now being put on a chartered flight to The Hague to be tried. The first time a former head of state has been put on trial there. An important point here. Duterte was democratically elected by his people. Philippines is a representative democracy. Not relevant, though, as to whether he has committed crimes for which he should be sentenced to a jail sentence. Now, I don't accept Israel is a democracy. It's an ethno-state which subjects Palestinians to murderous, indeed genocidal occupation, which they have no say over. But Duterte's fate blows apart one particular argument. Now, yes, it will be justifiably said, well, look, Duterte and Netanyahu are not the same. Sure, Duterte wasn't a close Western ally per se, although the West did arm him, but he's not white. The Philippines isn't a central Western client state like Israel. We'll discuss this. But first of all, here's a video of Duterte being arrested on the plane as he landed.
A warrant of arrest. So, you will just have to kill me. Kung hindi ako papayag, kakampi ka dyan sa mga puti.
He says there, you will just have to kill me. He was then escorted by police through the airport. Quite the downfall for the once ruling murderous leader of this country. So here's the thing. After Duterte became president of the Philippines in 2016, the ICC began investigating him in 2018. He withdrew from the Rome Statute, which makes the Philippines, or made the Philippines, a member state of the ICC the following year. But that means the crimes he committed between 2016 and 2019, when the Philippines was still a member of the court, fall within its jurisdiction. And the crimes committed by this man, facilitated, I have to say, by the West in part, I'll talk about that, are heinous indeed. In his 6 years in power, between 12,000 and 30,000 civilians are estimated to have been killed. According to the NGO Human Rights Watch, Duterte's victims were mostly the urban poor. Those responsible for this massacre were the police conducting unlawful killings or armed individuals believed to be linked to the police. They note he was explicit about his intent, telling a crowd of more than 300,000 supporters on the eve of his election victory, "If I make it to the presidential palace, I will do what I did as mayor. You drug pushers, hold up men and do nothing, you better get out because I'll kill you." As the regional director of fellow human rights organisation Amnesty International put it in 2019, President Duterte's war on drugs continues to be nothing but a large-scale murdering enterprise for which the poor continue to pay the highest price. Amnesty report that those killed were on so-called drug watch lists compiled by the state, who were not put through any judicial process at all. Local officials were instructed to show results by collecting the names of those deemed users, pushers, financiers and protectors in their patch, which Amnesty say were unreliable, illegitimate and unjustifiable lists. Amongst those killed were at least 122 children, including a 1-year-old. Now, this figure itself is reported to be an underestimate because relatives were threatened by the police and also not to get in touch with NGOs like Amnesty and Human Rights Watch. Under oath, Duterte admitted that he kept a death squad to supposedly crack down on crime when he was mayor of one of the biggest cities in the Philippines before his presidency. His victims were not simply those alleged to be drug dealers or users. Dozens of trade unionists were murdered under his rule. Duterte is a straightforward monster. After becoming president, he once declared, "Hitler massacred 3 million Jews. There's 3 million drug addicts. I'd be happy to slaughter them." To be clear, Adolf Hitler's regime killed 6 million Jews. In 2016, he told the BBC he'd personally shot dead 3 men whilst he was mayor, and in 2017, he claimed he stabbed a person to death as a teenager. He declared he'd sexually assaulted a maid. He joked to soldiers they could rape women with impunity. Now, what of Duterte's relationship with the West? Now, sure, he engaged in anti-Western rhetoric and brought the Philippines closer to China. But under his murderous regime, arms exports from Britain to the Philippines surged. Donald Trump hailed what he called his great relationship with Duterte and later brokered an arms sale to Philippines worth $2 billion. Duterte said that Trump is a good friend of mine. He speaks my language. And in 2021, Duterte pivoted away from China in favour of the US. As for his relationship with Israel, revealing, well, in 2018, Duterte met with Benjamin Netanyahu and said the following.
We share the same passion for peace. We share the same passion for the human being. But we also share the same passion of not allowing our country to be destroyed.
The same passion for peace and human beings. Well, no further comment really needed there. Well, look, I bet Duterte never believed he'd actually be arrested and sent on a plane to The Hague. He committed these grave crimes thinking he had impunity, that he could behave how he wanted with no consequences. Well, that has not proven to be the case. His old pal Netanyahu isn't the same kettle of fish, sure. Someone like Duterte is far more expendable from the West's perspective. Israel is a far more important strategic ally of Western power. Western leaders are far more complicit in Israel's crimes. Some ICC member states have refused to honour these arrest warrants. As Karen Khan, the ICC chief prosecutor, told CNN last year, I've had some elected leaders speak to me and they were very blunt. This court is built for Africa and for thugs like Putin, was what one senior leader told him. But Israel's genocide is a much graver crime. No crime in history has been so confessed to as it happened. No crime in history has been so documented as it happened. Public opinion in Western states, not least the United States, is swinging away from Israel. And that's particularly true with the younger generations who one day will be the majority in society. Is Netanyahu likely to be arrested any day soon? Unfortunately not. But if I were him, I would be sweating a little bit more, sleeping a little bit less soundly. The victims of Duterte deserve justice in their own right. He has clearly committed heinous crimes for which he should be held accountable for, just as other criminal leaders, including Vladimir Putin, should be held accountable for theirs. For all leaders, like Netanyahu and his associates who commit atrocities against fellow humans, accountability has inched a little bit closer. Tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock. The clock is ticking down until justice is served. Please like and subscribe, leave your thoughts and your comments, help us as we expand our attempt to challenge the dire mainstream media at patreon.com/owenjones84. Yet like, subscribe, comments is all good for the algorithm to get the message out. Listen to us on the podcast to avoid seeing my face. I'll speak to you in a bit.